Everybody, welcome to Moment of Clarity. This episode is about how France is right now showing us how it's done. Okay, they've shut down the country. They are striking against President Macron's austerity measures, his neoliberal bullshit. I mean, he is a sleazy little neoliberal asshole. And, you know, our media is fawning on him right now because he made fun of Trump. But is that really all you have to do? Make fun of Trump? Is there anyone who hasn't made fun of Trump? If making fun of Trump makes you a hero, then the entire world is heroes right now. No, Macron he's a little businessman, all right, who's trying to gut the pensions of workers there in France, and, you know, basically just... This is going on in many countries, right? They keep cutting back on what workers have on the social safety net so that they can put that money to the richest people, privatize things, spend more on military. And, of course, it's happened to us here in America at a very large degree. But France is showing us how we should be fighting back. They have joined together, many different groups have joined together, and they are shutting the country down. You know, you're talking teachers, you're talking service people, you're talking various transportation sectors have shut down. I think the firefighters are joining in, and it has to do with putting your differences aside to realize that the workers of a country have a lot more in common than the fucking assholier-than-thou titans of dickery at the top. So if we're going to change things, then we have to put those differences aside. In these protests, you have right-wingers and you have left-wingers because they are agreeing that the workers should not lose their pensions, that you should be able to survive in a society, especially a rich society like France or America, and it should not be a gut-wrenching experience. We are in a post-scarcity world, and the only reason people are suffering is because of immense greed by those at the top. And, you know, with three dudes in our country, in America, have the same amount of wealth as the bottom 50% of the country. It is completely unequal and unstable. And in France right now, these mass strikes, mass nationwide strikes, are showing Americans what we should be doing. We have been divided and conquered in America, separated in so many different ways, and we all have been told to hate each other, and, you know, you gotta be blue team or red team, and if the person is on the other team, then fuck them. And instead, we should be looking at the issues, and we should be joining together and working against the most powerful factions, the oligarchs of this country, the ruling elite. This speaks to what's going on right now in the Democratic race for president, right? You have the oligarchs, the ruling elite, the incredibly wealthy, trying desperately to stop Bernie Sanders or, you know, Tulsi Gabbard too, but she's not as much of a threat to them right now. So trying to stop Bernie Sanders from getting this nomination. And they are uniting, the powerful are uniting to try and make sure that doesn't happen. Hillary Clinton was on Howard Stern recently calling, you know, Bernie Sanders a Russian asset or some shit like that, which those of us who knew the Russiagate thing was utter horseshit, we knew this would happen next, right? This is how McCarthyism works. This is how the Cold War era maligning of anybody, even slightly left-wing, works. They create this great Russian menace, and then they say, oh, anybody who doesn't stand for the corporate exploitation of the working class, they are fucking Russians. And, you know, in other times they'll say it's someone else. You're you know, either the great terrorist threat or whatever. There are varying ways of doing this, but the one that's really stood the test of time, at least since World War II, is the great Russian threat, right? It's gonna get you. And so Hillary Clinton goes on Howard Stern and says this utter horse shit. She again acts like Bernie Sanders stopped her from getting the presidency, from defeating Donald Trump. She said, Bernie Sanders hurt me.
Do we hate Bernie Sanders?
No, I don't hate anybody.
Bernie could have endorsed you quicker.
He could have. He hurt me. There's no doubt about it. He hurt me. And I hope he doesn't do it again to whoever gets the nomination.
Right.
Once is enough.
How did Bernie Sanders hurt you, Hillary Clinton? Was it by revealing your actual stances? The things you actually stand for, that you are actually corrupt, that you are actually a Wall Street stooge? Like, that's what hurt you, was the reality, your real emails that came out. Your reality is what hurt you and made you unelectable. End of story. That is it. Bernie Sanders hurt me by revealing my real true self is fucking bullshit. Okay? And anyway, back to the point. This is the ruling elite trying to make sure that the working class, which Bernie Sanders stands for, and, there are, definitely some third-party candidates that stand for the same thing. So I don't want to act like it's just Bernie Sanders, but this is the Hillary Clinton and the ruling elite, the Bidens, and there's some that are not necessarily in that ruling elite class, but they stand for the same shit. The Buttigieg's, Kamala Harris, who just crashed and burned and dropped out of the race. They stand for the same shit, and so they're considered electable, meaning they will do the bidding of of Wall Street, of the corporate titans. And right now, their greatest threat is Bernie Sanders. And because he is and I understand a lot of you may love Tulsi Gabbard or someone else, but the only one that is really a threat to those ruling elite right now is Bernie Sanders. So they need to unite and throw everything at him. The mainstream media won't mention him. The Hillary Clinton's coming out of the woodwork, because I assume she does live in the woodwork. I mean, that's, kind of like termites or such. And she's come out, and, oh, he hurt me, and I hope he doesn't do it again. And those people, they're all uniting to try and stop this pro-worker threat. It is a threat to the exploitation of all of the rest of us. And right now, and it's not just America, right? Right now, what's going on in France is very similar to the neoliberal exploitation of all of us, the unfettered capitalist destruction of our world. And right now in France, they're standing up in a far greater way than we have recently, because they are, at least for the moment, and I'm not saying the divide and conquer technique won't work in France. Who knows how it'll go in a few days. But right now, they are, many workers, many of the people of France are uniting. The yellow vest, the black bloc, I hear, is also involved. You got, but average people that weren't even involved in the yellow vest protests are standing up and saying that they need to defend the pensions of the working class, because it is, we're in a post-scarcity world. There's no reason that the immense wealth is flowing through these countries, through countries like America and France, and it is going to a tiny number of individuals. A tiny number. And many of them are, you look at like, the Bezos and stuff that have 100 billion, but many of the ones that have less than that, like the 30 billionaires, the poor people, they come from the same family, right? They come from the Rockefellers or the various big families, the Waltons. The Waltons hold 3 of the positions of the top, 20 richest people in the world, 3 or 4 of the positions. And if you were to add up that family's wealth, then they would have, $200 billion or whatever it is. The Koch brothers, another example. One of them died. I know. We're still grieving. We're still grieving for the Koch that died, David Koch. It's a tough time for all of us. But they each had like $40 billion. You add it up. You add up family wealth, and it's insane. And anyway, I'm just saying, it should be all of us who are not billionaires against the ruling elite, in order to demand our rights, to demand a social safety net, to demand all these things, to demand an evolution beyond capitalism. Yes, capitalism was an important step in certain ways, in certain senses, but it is now time to evolve past it to a post-scarcity world where we can, there's no reason everybody shouldn't be housed and fed. It's fucking ridiculous. It's psychotic. All right. I think that's what I got. Hope I made some important points. Think I did. Nope, maybe not. Yes, I did. Twice. Two important points. Anyway, the last thing, my book is now out for pre-sale. There's a limited edition hardcover and signed copies of the book. I didn't know, for those of you who already bought copies, I didn't know that the publisher was going to do this. They decided to do this, I think, because of demand. And so there are now limited edition hardcover and signed by me, not just some guy on the street. They're not just getting some, hey, come sign this book. No, it's this guy. Yeah, signed versions, hard copy versions, they're limited, but that's at leecampbook.com. Please go grab them now. Like I said before, it helps the publisher know that there's demand for this book. They'll put more energy into supporting it and getting it out there. Forward by Chris Hedges and intro by Jimmy Dore. Thanks a lot. Keep fighting.